Hi, I'm Carolyn Gage, and I'm going to read to you my letter to the editor of the Dramatists Guild magazine, a magazine I love, an organization that has really been a lifeline to me. This is a little bit lengthy, but it's terribly important, at least to me. So, dear editor, I've been thinking about ways, personal and institutional, to counter the current fire hose of initiatives being deployed against DEI across a vast spectrum of the arts, education, industry, etc. I am especially concerned about the arts. Last week, Trump gutted the Kennedy Center, turning it into a propaganda arm for his regime. Chillingly, he issued a warning that a review will be ordered for any organization receiving government funding that uses any of the following words on their websites or in their materials. And I am going to read this list because basically this is what's being censored. It's a long list, but I'm reading it because the sum of the parts is actually greater than the whole. These are the words that will get you investigated. Activism, activists. Advocacy, advocate. Advocates, barrier. Barriers, biased. Biased toward, biases. Biases towards, BIPOC, Black and Latinx, community diversity, community equity, cultural differences, cultural heritage, culturally responsive, disabilities, disability, discriminated, discrimination, discriminatory, diverse backgrounds, diverse communities, diverse community, diverse group, diverse groups, diversified, diversified, diversifying, diversity and inclusion, diversity, equity, enhance the diversity, enhancing diversity, equal opportunity, equality, equitable, equity, ethnicity, excluded, female, females. By the way, males are not on this list. Fostering inclusivity, gender diversity, genders, hate speech, Hispanic minority, historically, implicit bias, implicit biases, inclusion, inclusiveness, inclusivity, increased diversity, increase the diversity, indigenous community, inequalities, inequality, inequitable, inequities, institutional, LGBT, they spelled that wrong, marginalized, minorities, minority, multicultural, polarization, political prejudice, privileges, promoting diversity, race and ethnicity, racial diversity, racial inequality, racial justice, racially, racism, sense of belonging, sexual preferences, social justice, sociocultural, socioeconomic status, stereotypes, systemic, trauma. There goes my whole canon. Underappreciated, underrepresented, and Shakespeare's. Underserved, underrepresentation, underrepresented, underserved, undervalued, victim, women, and underrepresented. I have been a professional playwright for 40 years, authoring plays that feature lesbian and feminist themes, often centering survivors of male violence. For 22 years, I toured nationally in my one-woman show about a lesbian Joan of Arc. I have been involved in an ACLU national priority lawsuit where a teacher lost her job in the public schools because of her association with my lesbian theater company. I have been fired, evicted, blacklisted, libeled, and I have had to close my theater and move to another state because of homophobia. What I'm trying to say is this: I have been in this fight for a long time, even under so-called liberal administrations. One of the things that has kept me going is the history of playwrights, the study of this history and the implementation of the lessons from it. The Dramatists, that's the name of the magazine of the Dramatists Guild, focuses rightfully on contemporary playwrights and on the craft and business of playwriting, but that's not going to be enough to see many of us through what is coming. We need our history, and the history of playwrights is packed with strategy and role models. We have been here before. The battles lost and won by our forebears offer us proud legacies that can save lives, even as a play that strikes the right chord at the right moment can save a life. So I would like to see the Dramatist incorporate our history as a regular feature in the magazine. Here are a few examples that have supported me across the years. Arthur Miller and Lillian Hellman's dramatic and defiant testimonies before the House Un-American Activities Committee during the communist witch hunts. Václav Havel being banned from theater in Czechoslovakia and continuing to write and publish his plays via samizdat, hope I'm pronouncing that right, in spite of being imprisoned multiple times, and then, of course, becoming president of Czechoslovakia. Germaine Tillion, an anthropologist imprisoned in Ravensbrück, writing her comedic operetta In the Underworld, that's the title, as she performed manual labor with her fellow concentration camp inmates. Molière's Tartuffe being banned by Louis XIV and his narrowly escaping imprisonment and excommunication. Eva Gore-Booth, a tireless lesbian activist in the Irish Revolution, joining with Yeats and Lady Gregory to create a canon of plays referencing Irish history and mythology to replace a colonial canon by British playwrights. Natalie Barney being evicted by her landlady for attempting to stage her lesbian play Equivoque in her backyard. This led to the move to 20 Rue Jacob, which is now arguably the most famous address in Paris, as a result of Barney's salon, which hosted some of the greatest artists of Europe and the U.S. for 40 years. Lynn Riggs, Cherokee playwright, and how he found his voice in the queer community of Santa Fe. African-American Garveyite, Henrietta Vinton Davis, writing plays with roles where she could cross-dress, turning the traditional plantation play on its head with a second act where the formerly enslaved captives have taken possession of the white owner's estate. Christopher Marlowe, facing execution at the hands of the Star Chamber for heresy and sodomy, and the suspicious circumstances surrounding his apparent murder just days before a trial he could not hope to survive. African-American lesbian Angelina Weld Grimke, writing her radical anti-lynching feminist play Rachel in response to the NAACP's call for plays to counter the racist narrative of D.W. Griffith's pro-KKK film Birth of a Nation. She became the first black female playwright to be publicly produced, and the feminist themes of her play significantly are still ahead of her time. Their time, our time. This is a tough read for me. Hallie Flanagan's ongoing fierce battles on behalf of the playwrights of the Federal Theater Project, playwrights specifically writing plays with casts of color and foregrounding working class issues. Our history is amazing because we are an insanely creative and resilient people, because our plays are startlingly effective, and also because those of us who give our lives over to the lonely pursuit of inventing alternative worlds are often unable to recognize ourselves in the one we have inherited. Our creations tend to self-select for resistance. This is not a heritage of which to be ashamed or afraid, and we need it desperately as we prepare for the siege that is coming, that is in fact already here. The lives and words of these historical playwrights can help light the way. Context is everything. Thanks for hearing me out. Please let me know if you have any questions about this proposal to feature our history in your magazine on a regular basis in every issue. In the words of elections attorney Mark Elias, they will never give up, and neither should we. Best, Carolyn Gage.